well, in fact, if you have any doubts, if you want to consult anything before we go ahead with constructivism and try to round it up today. Any questions, doubts? Some people are mute, some others are not. Let's see, in the chat I can see that there is, okay. All right. Well, we're recording, okay? The lesson, as usual. Well, any questions? Any idea that is not clear enough, that is a bit blurred? Why do you think I'm giving you these notions of constructivism and, well, cognitivism, behaviorism? Why? What's the use?
Because it would help us as teachers to understand our students' mind and how they work, and the kind of activity we are going to ask them to do.
Okay, right. And in fact, if we come to think about Seminario de la Práctica Docente, that Seminario de la Práctica Docente 1 deals with observation, the importance of, let's say, in a way, being well aware of the different approaches and methodologies, not just for the sake of repeating them, but being able to identify traits when you observe, right? To identify these fashions that teachers have, right, in terms of doing things and planning things, right, in the classroom. Now, what happens is that we are restricted to this, but because of the pandemic, right? But what we will be doing is to watch clips and try to decode some aspects, some traits of these approaches and methodologies in some cases, and well, try to decode why is it that the teacher has decided to use a different or a certain kind of task. Okay? Yes?
Yes.
It has to do more with that. If you had, imagine that you, ideally, you would have been, let's say, perhaps you would be starting with your observations. If generally we did it on the 1st or 2nd week of May. I mean, all these topics that we are analyzing these days would be the subject matter of most of our lessons, because you would be sharing with us what you have seen, right? But well, it is not the case now, because all of you, perhaps if I find a clip, all of you will be watching the same clip, right? But well, it has to do with this. Well, I'm going to share the screen. I don't know, any other question?
No.
No? Well, then we'll have to work on the examples. Remember I asked you, do you remember where we stopped the other day? I don't remember. We were somewhere
15.
11, 12?
15.
Because I remember we had spoke, oh no, perhaps a bit further. Accommodation stands for what in the adaptation, our schemata? Yes?
Yes.
We didn't start with Branner.
Oh, okay, right. All right. Well, in fact, he died, I think it was last year. Last year, right? Jeremy Brunner died last year. He was American. And he died at a very, let's say, advanced stage. He was 80-something and he was living in the USA, and he had come to Argentina many times. And one of my let's say teachers and that he's a teacher also at WADA, he told me that he had the opportunity of meeting him, and he was a very pleasant man, right? Very, very polite and humble. Well, the ideas of equilibration, accommodation, assimilation, we will come back to them, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, in fact, we can say that adaptation and equilibration they are more or less the same thing, right? Perhaps equilibration and there might be a difference between adaptation. Perhaps it's a role that is a bit more passive, and in equilibration you have more, you make sense of what you are doing, right? Because there is something that is more willing, right, to find the balance. But then we'll return to that later on. Brunner thinks that it is essential to understand that the aim of education of the whole what?
Person.
Sorry, I cannot hear you. If you speak a bit louder.
The whole person.
Okay, and what do we mean by the whole person? We include what?
Learning how to learn too.
That's it. So Brunner thinks that it's essential to understand what? That it's not just, let's say, what we learn and the people that surround us, but also the way we learn. We have to be well aware of that, of these cognitive skills, of the channels through which we perceive the world, right? Which is related to Piaget, okay? Yes?
Yes.
Yes. And if our basic ideas are revised and expanded along a continuum, can you complete this idea? What happened?
I couldn't find it.
I couldn't find it.
We are faced with what? With a spiral, right? We are faced with a spiral, let's say, type of education, where something is, let's say, revisited over again, but with a different complexity. Do you remember reading that?
Yes.
Okay, the spiral curriculum.
Yes.
All right, then it is to attain full and effective full and effective functioning, learners should.
I'm sorry, but someone in the chat is saying that if you can give us an example of the spiral learning.
Spiral learning. Okay, thank you. Because when I am sharing the screen, I can see my screen, but the chat box disappears. I only see the video one. All right. For example, I think I gave you one example that perhaps I didn't mention it was a spiral curriculum, but for example, when you start learning a language, what do you generally learn? Well, notions of nouns connected with food. I mean, thinking about there is, there are, right? Countable and uncountable nouns, don't you?
Yes.
Yes? Later on, sometimes a year later, or perhaps 2 years later, depending on how often you have lessons, right? Then you see abstract nouns again, right? Words related to food, expanding perhaps your vocabulary, but connected to some other quantifiers. And you start having the notions of much, many, a lot. Okay, so what are you doing there? You are expanding, right? You are revisiting a topic that you have already dealt with, but completing it with more information. That is not only grammatical, but it has to do with the semantic field and the structural field. And perhaps, why not, it may be together with ordering, right, food or buying food at the supermarket. If I want to connect it with, let's say, functioning. Is that clear? Yes?
Yes.
And with many other topics, right? Okay. So we were in, to attain full and effective functioning, learners should do what type of tasks? I think it is about the tasks. What kind of activities do they have to do?
Meaningful
I said
activities.
Meaningful, all right. But
I said that they should be encouraged and motivated to discover for themselves the solution for the educational problems.
Well, for the tasks, okay? Right, so it is based on problem-solving tasks where they are challenged, okay, to find solutions. Then, Brunner welcomed guesswork. What is that? Can you think of words connected with guesswork from another approach? Guesswork has to do with doing things because you really know, because you are on safe ground.
No.
No, it has to do with
You are trying to figure out what's correct.
yes. In fact, you cannot do it consciously. That is to say, you cannot say, well, I have an idea of how this is used or how I say this in English, but I really cannot trace it where I have learned it. And that is what we call intuitive learning, right? In fact, according to linguistic studies, it's because you have been exposed to the language passively and you cannot recall it, but it is part of your schemata. Okay? That is what we call this guesswork, trial and error, in fact. So that's why, I mean, if we think about the way Brunner sees education and we think about language learning or language teaching, if you want, is there room for mistakes or not?
Yes.
Yes, because you are working on the basis of trying, solving, finding your way, right? Not being told what to do and how to do it. Okay, yes, it has to do with that. Well, what else? Then we have something about George Kelly, that apparently George Kelly was not oh, sorry, I skipped one. He supports the idea that there are 3 modes of thought. Brunner, you've got the
Inactive,
inactive,
iconic,
and the
symbolic.
Would you relate it with Piaget, please? Can you relate it with Piaget's ideas?
Yes. The inactive is equal to the sensory-motor stage, the iconic to the pre-operational, and the symbolic, it is equivalent to the formal operational stage.
Yes, that's it, right? You see how they are related. That's why, I mean, in fact, they say that Brunner was influenced by Piaget. And when we read about Erik Erikson and Abraham Maslow in the next chapter, right, of Psychology for Language Teachers, you will see the influence of Piaget, of Freud, right, in them. Okay? So, I mean, it's not that they discard everything that has been studied or has been, let's say, adopted as valid and useful. They find new options, alternatives to this, and they add up new ideas, new concepts. Okay, it's like you buy a car because it is good quality, a good model, like let's say El Gol, right? And now the original one is completely different from the new version, or not? Well, something like that. Okay, it's like it is basically the same, but then I mean it is updated to today's demands on the market. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what about George Kelly? I found it really interesting. Well, do you want to ask anything about the inactive, the iconic, and the symbolic?
No.
No? Because now that we can relate it to Piaget, I mean, I guess that we have a better idea. George Kelly stated that each individual constructs what?
Their own view
personal
of the world.
understanding of things.
It's like you build your own theories about things. Can you remember when you were a child that you tried to reason why something was one way or the other and you had these hypotheses in your mind?
Yes.
Well, that's what George Kelly, in a way, revealed, right, about learning, that we make sense of our own world, and that is what Brunner said, right, and what Piaget stated too in different ways. But this adds with, I mean, being in an individual construction. And of course, it will make sense, right, in terms of the people that are around you, the environment, and even including the weather, and not just the culture. I mean, let's say, everything that has to do with your immediate environment, not just the people you live with or the community you are part of, right? Okay, even the language is modified by the way, by the surroundings, the geographic surroundings, right? Okay. What else? We've got our construction of the world. Oh, there is a mistake, a spelling mistake. Will be drawn upon. Well, I think I anticipated it, or not.
Previous experience.
And we have to, yes, can you see that this concept of background knowledge or schema or schemata, if we want to call it, schemata is like the plural, right? Well, in fact, it is present in all the interactionists, supporters. And there we include Piaget. All right, we include Brunner, we include Kelly. Later on, there are others, right? Okay, then you have Ausubel, there are many more. Then the curriculum is experienced by both. What parties can you think of?
The teachers and the learners.
Teachers, learners, and parents too. In fact, a lot of importance is given to the role of parents. And that is, in a way, revisited by Carl Rogers later on, right? Thinking about, let's say, and Feuerstein too, that we are going to read about him, thinking that the role of parents or the family, in a way, of adults, right, plays an essential role in, let's say, education, because they are the ones that, in a way, support, right, or in a way, neglect education, right, in their children. And think about the present moment. Not just because of the pandemic and because of this online kind of teaching that we are trying to have with some communities, but also, I mean, parents complaining because the children have to do a lot of homework, for example. What do you think about that? Why is it that they don't want their children to learn?
I think that they don't want to help them so much.
That's it. Why? Because there is, let's say, a deep-rooted belief that the education, right, or the learning that should take place at school should be only in the environment of a school, and that is not the parents' responsibility. And that is
And done by
something
the
that,
teachers only.
that's it. So it has to do with, let's say, teacher, student, and school as the place, as the setting, right? And that parents, just by sending them to the school, it's enough. And that is a conception that we have nowadays, of that parents have. It's a cultural problem that we're facing, right? This phrase of yo te pago, voy a enseñarle, right? It's a common, it is a prejudice, in fact, and a misconception, of course, in my opinion, right? Okay, and it becomes a shared enterprise where emotions are
an important
Consider
learning.
yes, they are a factor that is decisive. It is a decisive point, right? The fact that students should be at ease, should be, let's say, should trust the teacher, okay? They should feel that what they are doing makes sense. And the problem with thinking about what is happening at homes, right, with homework and so on and so forth, it has to do with this. Also believing, deep-rooted beliefs from teachers or authorities that giving the students a lot to do means teaching them a lot. And I don't think that that is, let's say, the solution to the problem. Because in fact, you are burdening them with lots of things to do. And in fact, you end up producing, right, a reaction that is against that. But not only from the parents, also by the children. The children will end up hating everything they have to do, right? They would think that online is for you to be fed with loads and loads of things to be done or to be read. I don't know if you feel that is the way it's being done. Perhaps when we come to think about English, right, teaching English, it's not that you have to give loads of material, right? In fact, perhaps you have to be discreet in the number of activities you give, and there is a problem that we really need, or at least I feel that we need to connect with the students and to demonstrate, show, interact, speak, and all that. But that has to do with the nature of the subject that we are teaching, that is based on communication. So how can you teach English if you're not communicating with your students? Right? You can sustain that for some time along something written, but not for long. Right? There will come a time where you need to speak to the students, you need to listen to them. Right? Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
But listen, you can disagree if you want. Right? Do you have any other, let's say, opinion about this? Any other impression? No?
No.
I personally teach private lessons, and the kind of homework that my student is receiving is everything, well, read this, read that, and then we're going to revise it when we're back. But there is no education at all.
Mm-hmm. So it's the students doing some practice in a way.
Yes.
You feel you are doing it halfway.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's a feeling. That's why I needed to meet you. The same happens to me, even though I'm not teaching you English, but I needed to contact you, right? To see you face to face and to talk to you and try to get some feedback from you, right? Because then the writing becomes a very cold channel that is very restricted in many aspects, right? Now, I want to share, let me know if you can see it, because I'm not sure. Can you see this?
Yes.
Yes.
The file I sent you the other day? Yes? This morning, sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Look at this and look at this one. That I'm sorry, but I don't think I can. Here on this screen, it doesn't allow me to move it. Okay.
Where it says you have a minus, a plus, and dash.
Yes, this one.
Yes.
Up there, that's it. Let's start by taking a look at this one. There. What can you see there?
A grammar exercise.
What's the language point there?
Possessions.
Does it say possessions there?
No.
No.
So take a look at this, right? I want you to analyze this. The fact that in this workbook, we've got grammar, have got, look at the chart and write sentences. Who are the characters?
Peter, Silvia, Roberto, and Maria.
Oh, okay. Do you know them?
No.
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 All right. And this that is here, let's see if the tool appears back. Okay. Can you see this? Is
Yes.
this the same type of activity? It says read the text, complete the table, and circle the correct options. How do you call this? Do you know what's the name for this? I mean, the whole thing that you can see here.
It's a grammar box, isn't it?
We call it structure table too, right? Structure corner sometimes, okay? Grammar box, as you say. And what is it useful for?
To check if they know the grammar.
The students can use it as what?
It's a reminder.
As a reminder, okay? Well, if they are doing any task and they have a doubt, they can consult this, can't they? But what I want you to do is to take a close look at it. Is it just a grammar, let's say, structure table? Because, check, it says here, read the text, complete the table, and circle the correct options. Read the text. So, in order to complete this, because my dad is here, I am here, Max, Lily, okay, there are people there. Are they unknown, such as the ones that we have here, Peter, Silvia, Roberto, and Maria?
No.
No.
All right,
No.
okay. Right, so there, okay, you can see that these, let's say, characters or whatsoever have a reference previously. What is that notion? If you have references here, this has what? How do you call this? The text would be what? The reference there? Context. So in order to complete this chart, there must be a context. So I can make sense of my dad, who Max is, and who Lily are, okay, is. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So I need the text to complete this, all right? Besides you have symbols and all that, but this is a kind of table that is completed upon drawn from information in a text, okay? It's not out of the blue. Now, then it says, circle the correct options. What options there? Here it says, have got is about possessions, family, abilities, and description. Can you see? What is this giving? Some dog is there. What is this last part? Framing what? The
function.
The function of this grammatical point. And making sense of this, grounding it, relating it to what? To a certain a certain reality that is provided by the text. Can you see that? It's a very simple thing, but it's completely different from this. Now, think about methodologies or approaches that may, in a way, support these two ways of giving the students a grammar point. Okay? Can you, of course, you have to back it up, right? Can you think of that for next class?
Yes.
Yes? All right, yes.
Yes.
We have 4 minutes left. So what will be the task for next Monday? Well, in fact, I'm not going to ask you to read anything for next Monday because I'm planning to work with you with some reading. It is the introduction and chapter 1 from Didáctica para Profesores de a Pie. I will take photos of this and give it to you, right? If you can read it, it will be much better because you will be able to participate much more and to make questions. But my idea will be to give you an expository kind of lesson, right? Okay?
Okay.
Now,
Yes.
the idea is that at the beginning of the lesson, I would like you to, let's say, share your answers about the questions that I'm making to you about this, right? And to include what we didn't do today, and we were expected to do that, to share examples of assimilation and accommodation in the equilibration processes by Piaget. Because I was not sure if everybody got the video. Now I have uploaded the link into the Google Classroom, right? Now I have seen that in the Google Classroom we are 20 people, so I'm pretty satisfied because according to the CURNE there are only 23 students who have enrolled. So I will be checking again who is missing from the list that is not in the Google Classroom. But I guess that everybody is almost in. Perhaps there are some students who have decided not to do the subject for different reasons. I know that there is one girl that has not been able to enroll because of the grammar board, that she has not been able to take the test, but she's part of this group, okay? So the idea will be this. We'll be sharing examples connected to assimilation and accommodation from Piaget's ideas, right? And you will be giving me your insight on this, right? And backing up your answers. So the first part will be pretty interactive, and the second part will be more expository. All right. Now I will let you know on the WhatsApp group when I have uploaded onto the Google Classroom the chapter of Trisho, right, from Didáctica para Profesores de a Pie. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm going to start the sharing. Well, and I would like some feedback from you too of how we are doing with the topics. My idea is that I have a DVD that has a lot of classroom situations, but I will try to see if I can get a notebook that has a DVD, right, reader, so that I can see if I can, let's say, post those videos, because I have tried to find them in YouTube and they are not, right? Okay, so I will be working on that. Well, and of course, if you have any questions, if there is any doubt, you have to let me know. All right? Okay?
Okay.
Right? Okay. So next class, interaction at the beginning. You already know what you are supposed to share with us, and then I will be introducing these notions of the teacher in the classroom and what is the role and what is expected from him or from her. Okay?
Okay.
All right?
Okay.
Well, have a nice time. See you on Monday.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.